Hello, friends. This is John with Benpreneurs, and today I am here with Amy Meyer with Art Parables. That is the name of her art company and showcase, and she is a local artist, and she just happens to be my wife. So we're going to talk a little bit about her journey and how she started into art. And so let's just talk about what made you get into art. I mean, what age did you start at?
Well, probably when I was really young. I would say, well, as a kid, you're always doodling, so I think the gift was always there. My mom was an artist, but she never pursued it. And her mom, my grandma, was an artist, and she did oil painting. So, it's a generational gift that was passed down. And although I never really had any lessons, so I just kind of just started moving in it. I did have some classes in high school and junior high, but just kind of started learning on my own. I let the pictures teach me. And so I would look at images and just kind of learn angles from that. So I started off with pencil, and then that progressed, and I was always a little scared to move into color and then John's, his grandma passed away, and she actually left all her oil pastels, everything to me as an inheritance. So that really got me started.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story behind that is that she was an artist that I didn't really know much about. I mean, I saw paintings as a little boy and things, but I didn't realize that she was into it to the extent she was. So you got the art from her. That was kind of a sign of more.
Yeah, I needed
right?
to venture out
Yeah.
because I'd been thinking about it for a long time, but I was too scared to kind of dabble in the color because I didn't know, okay, what mixes with what makes what's the techniques, because there's
Yeah.
always these little things that you got to have for pursuing that. But anyway, so I said, forget it. I'm just going to punch through this and do it. And so I started really enjoying it. So I'll show you a couple pictures that came about. And I really like to do the Northwest type wildlife things too.
Yes,
So here's a bear I
really
did.
nice.
And with oil pastel, it's kind of a consistency of lipstick in a way. So it's not your typical chalk pastel. It's got the oil in it. And so what I do is I do my picture, and then you can add a medium to it to get it to loosen up a little bit. And so it'll make it look more similar to an oil painting. So this is one of my black bear.
This one here, this one in particular, I really like because of the background, and she has a really unique background style that she does, and it's more of a swirl, and then you do that with the turpenoid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's that one. And then there's also a fox here I did. So you can see it
Really
still
nice.
kind of has that chalky look. And so then the frustrating thing for me is I've always envisioned wanting to do more realistic art. And so with the oil pastel, because it's kind of a thick thing to work with, I could never get as detailed as I'd want or that nice shine that oil paintings present. So I would just keep on kind of waiting instead of pursuing forward with it. So what happened, with the oil painting, that's where I really, really wanted to go. And so what happened, we were working in the retirement community for a long time with seniors in independent living, and one of our favorite residents, he was an oil painter, and you really didn't know, he didn't let people know that often. And when he was almost passing away, his caretaker and him came to me and said, we want to give you all his oil painting equipment, all of his Bob Ross paintbrushes, all of his paints. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's time for me to really move into this. And so it's amazing how, with your niche, things overtake you that keep encouraging you to go in the direction of your gifting. So,
Yeah, and that is a really good point. I want to just kind of touch on that for a minute. Is many people think, since we are highlighting and showcasing artists, innovators, entrepreneurs, and all of that, some people that are looking to get into a business idea and actually bring that to fruition, or whether it's an art, it's art, or it's music, could be a whole host of things. but they don't look for the clues or the signs that really appear at the right place at the right time. So
just nudging you
what else
forward
about that,
into that.
has happened? I mean, I know the paints and the oils all started coming, but what about the ideas? They just started
I
coming
would just
as well.
start getting ideas, and for me, I didn't want to just do art to have a picture. I really wanted to have meaning behind it, or a story, or some purpose or lesson behind it, or something that really catches a person and says, oh my gosh, I can relate, or there's a lesson in it.
Yeah.
So that's when I started developing the art parables. And as I've moved into the oils over the last year, I'll show you one I have right here. This one.
Yeah, and for those that don't really understand or know what a parable is, basically, parable is a story behind what's going on.
Right. It's a story illustrating. There's a lesson behind the story.
Yeah.
And so this one's called the boomerang effect. And this one's really, it's about offense. And when somebody throws jealousy or accusations or something towards you, it's like a boomerang. And the whole goal is not to catch that offense or the things they're putting on you, is to let it go over your head and go back to them. And they'll reap what they sow, pretty much. It's going to go back to them, and it's not going to affect you. Whereas if you were to grab that boomerang, it's going to turn around and boomerang on you, because if you go and try to throw that offense or that accusation or anger back on them, it's just going to come right back to you. So the whole goal is just let it go over your head and come back to them.
Yeah,
and so that's the boomerang effect.
It has explained some of the colors in it too, for those who can't see it real clearly.
Well, it's got your tan. I love chocolate browns and tans. So you'll see with a lot of my art that my backgrounds consist of that, just the earth tones and really natural. And then it's kind of got the Australian flair to it with the colors because of the boomerang. So,
really
but
nice.
this is one of my, I think this is my third oil painting I've done. So I'm stretching out more. I know the gift's in there, and I just had to bring it into the natural and just press past my fears and all of that. So, and that's what happened. And then I also have another one too that I just finished. And
that's more, I love the story behind it, and that's really what, intrigues not only me, but so many others. They want to know, okay, what's the story behind the story? And so before you go to the next, tell us a little bit about the times growing up when, because with many artists, and those of you watching, you understand that there's a sensitivity involved with creating anything, really, whether it's art or a business idea, or you're a baker or a clothing designer, whatever it is. I've found that a lot of artists are very, not only emotional but sensitive. Did that come into play when you were growing up and people were looking at your art and critiquing it? What did that look like?
Oh, for all you artists out there, you know how hard we are on ourselves, and we're so sensitive because everything's feeling or visual, and we see everything. I mean, that's how we're able to create art. And so, and for the logical, analytical type people, they may think they're helping, which they are. Like when you present a picture to them, and they'll make their little adjustments. Growing up as a kid, I didn't know any better, and so I'd have family members, instead of saying, oh, that's great, we love it, they would say, well, it's a little off here, you need to fix that, you need to fix this, without even giving the artist any encouragement or, kind of thing like that. And it would make me want to one time I just crumpled my piece up and said, forget it.
Yes, I think most of us can relate.
I don't know what it is. We're super sensitive. I'm much better now. Now I want to know because I want to improve what I do. And I've got a lot more maturity now to that. But, as growing up with family members, you guys know how it is. But anyway.
Yeah, because we can be extra hard on not only ourselves, but even if it's not the heart of the individual.
Yeah, they were just trying to help.
Right. But still, it's anything you create in design is a masterpiece to you.
Yeah.
And so, it's difficult sometimes. But as an entrepreneur, a business owner, artist, you come to a point where you have to learn to push through that.
That's exactly right.
Right?
It's, it really is, it's a birthing thing. And it's a vulnerability because you're birthing or creating out something that's dear to you and inside of you.
Right.
And so you're bringing that out, and it's vulnerable like a baby, so to speak. And so you are trusting that, you know, it's going to be covered, it's going to be taken care of, and you're going to bring that thing into the earth no matter what. And
That's right.
so it is so important not to, we always had this thing, we'd always say, die empty, you know, or don't go to your grave with all the treasures inside of you, because it's meant to share with the earth. And so that's why we're so passionate about helping others get their passions and pull their treasures out for everyone else too, you know, and just die empty, make an impact, leave a legacy,
Yeah,
you
love
know, instead of living in regret, you
Yeah,
know, that you never birthed that or created it.
That's great. So the actual heart behind any real artist or anybody that's going into something, usually
Any entrepreneur.
yeah, the entrepreneur, they're carrying something in them
Right.
that they've either seen that there's been an injustice, or there's been something that they just didn't like and they thought there could be an improvement there, something they wanted to bring to the marketplace or bring to society and say, you know, this is my expression. Not only
Right.
is this my expression, but this is something that I felt needed to be changed, to bring a change, a positive change in the world. And that's what you're saying, really, is through your art
Yeah.
and the heart behind it. Love it.
And that's same with anybody creating anything, even a baker, you know, or the people making their cupcakes or whatever, you
Yes.
know, they're presenting a piece of them to somebody. And you know, the biggest thing that stops us all from stepping out is fear of rejection or fear of failure. And so once you move past that, though, there comes such a freedom, because you see what you've created and you see how
Yes.
it's blessing people, and that starts pulling more out of you, which is just awesome.
That's
So,
right. That's great. So you said you had another one here.
yes.
This one, since we are related here, this one I really loved. Now, explain the story behind this one. Lift it up
This
so they
one
can
I
all see.
just finished yesterday,
I can help you. Hold it.
and this is the maker making the violin, and he's passionate. There's the heart right here representing is pierced with passion, and he's anticipating the sound that he's going to pull out of this instrument, the signature sound, and he takes his time crafting it and smoothing out all the
Beautiful.
places, you know, all for the love and the anticipation of the potential that's hidden in this. And it can represent us as musical instruments, and the drawing out of our potential and our signature sound. I mean, each instrument's different. And so this one really means a lot to me, and I'm sure it will to a lot of other people too, because they'll be able to relate, you know, because there is a process in pulling out your gifting and your sound and yielding to
true.
that process. And so this is part of one of the Art of Becoming series I'm working on.
Love it. Love it,
Yep.
because it just shows the reality of the hand and the arm, that, you know, the hand is just getting into the work, diving into the work,
sanding out and
sanding
smoothing
it out,
the edges.
refining. Love that.
And not all the pieces are there yet. The strings aren't there, you know, and all that. It's in the process.
In the process.
But it's at rest in the process. So
That's great.
that's part of the Art of Becoming series.
Love it. The story behind it, and the parable story that has real meaning. And like you said, it's everybody can relate to that to some degree. Now, what about those times, digging a little bit more here, when you were growing up and you began to produce things, did people come to you and want to buy some of these
Yeah,
pieces?
that's another
Because-
key, is that people started pursuing me, and they did. I had neighbors, people, friends, family that would want to buy pieces. And then I started putting a few in galleries too, and it was amazing to see the reactions. So it's stepped out there again, you know, it's a step out, find out, and step out, find out
Yeah,
type
that's
thing.
great. So what was the reaction initially when the first one that you saw hanging in the gallery? Were you critiquing yourself again, or were you just really excited about, wow, it's finally hanging?
Yeah, I was excited. I'm like, oh, wow. I overcame my fear. You know, I went and talked to the person, got it in there. So it's the process of overcoming all these fears and continuing to press forward and engage
That's great.
in your gift. So I'm
That's great.
excited to see more that's coming.
And did you have one more here, it looks like?
Oh, this is another of the oil pastel version too. So this is an oil pastel I did of a robin
Beautiful.
sitting in the tree.
Yeah, I love the cranberries or the berries on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was actually, was this in Central Oregon or was this over in Willamette Valley that you saw the picture?
No, this is right here in Bend that I did this one. So
That's great with the snow on the branches. And I love your backgrounds. Well, that's great. So now, what do you see for? I know that the parable stories is really something that's your heart.
that's the direction I'm going more towards
That's
now.
more that you can see yourself doing down the road for speaking to life in general and what people go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing with your gifting how there is the process and the seasons you go through and the greater depths of maturity that come about to an appointed time where you really do release deeper things, that have meaning. Where before it's practice, kind of figuring out your sound, figuring out your gift and your ability, kind of what avenues you want to take. So it's all a fine tuning as long as we keep moving forward, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say then to those, you've been giving clues and hints and helping the viewers right now, but on how to get started, but what would you say would be a practical step if somebody has this concept that's just been inside of them, and like you said, there's a fear there.
Mm-hmm.
What would be just a couple of steps that you would recommend to actually engaging in that? If they're already, say for example, they're an artist or they're a musician and they are really decent at it and people are saying that they are, and you can tell it's obvious. You don't have to be perfect yet. I mean, those things work themselves out and you become a master at it. But what would you say to that young person, say they're a teenager or in their 20s and they're like, yes, they can grasp some of it, but how in the world do they even start?
Well, I would say knowledge is power. Start gathering information and pursuing avenues, and also ask yourself, what's the next step? What's the next step that I need to do? Do I need to add a new skill? Do I need to contact a place? What's the next step to further the walk step by step? So
that's great. Yeah, and really, from what we've seen and what we've experienced in our own lives is it's a step-by-step process, and to not get in a real big hurry, because many mistakes are made when somebody's in a real hurry, but to remain consistent. We heard from an individual once that we really respected that says, look, if you do one thing every day for 365 days in that year, well, you've accomplished 365 things towards your goal or your dream. And it's important not to get frustrated and overwhelmed and all of those things when we're in a hurry. So thank you so much, honey, for the time. And if people want to get a hold of you for your art, where do they go?
They go to artparables.org.
Artparables.org, or you can have the link right here off of benpreneurs.com.
Yes.
We'll have the information you can click on and go right to her site if you want to learn more from her. Also, you can contact her via email from the site, and she'll be more than happy to get back to you with any answers to your questions. Or if she doesn't know, she'll really try and find out, because I know her well. Okay, until next time, take care and be sure to check back with us soon. We'll be posting more and more interviews of local Bend, Oregon entrepreneurs, business owners, innovators, musicians, artists, developers, real estate agents. If you happen to be one of those and you're watching, please contact us, benpreneurs@gmail.com, right through the website or by the phone number, and we will get right back to you and set up an interview time. Okay, thanks so much.